Over the last several years, I've made substantial donations to dozens of charities, including the Clinton Global Foundation. Those donations were a matter of public record, but I should have made additional disclosures on air when we covered the foundation. And I now believe that directing personal donations to that foundation was a mistake. Even though I made them strictly to support work done to stop the spread of AIDS, help children, and protect the environment in poor countries, I should have gone the extra mile to avoid even the appearance of a conflict. I apologize to all of you for failing to do that.
There you go, George Stephanopoulos on Good Morning America today, apologizing for his failure to disclose his donations to the Clinton Foundation. Now the news anchor saying he will not moderate any Republican presidential debates this year. That's where we'll start our roundtable and continue this conversation about George Stephanopoulos. We'll welcome President of the Tripp Scott Law Firm and former co-chairman for the Jeb Bush campaign in the state of Florida, Ed Pozzuoli, and the president of Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, former assistant director to the FBI, Ron Hosko. It's great to have you both with us.
Thank you.
All right, Ron, I realize this might be a departure a little bit from your normal areas of expertise, but like every American, I'm sure you have an opinion on this matter. That apology from George Stephanopoulos after he donated $75,000 to the Clinton Foundation. He's been defending the Clinton Foundation on air repeatedly, of course, and they do a lot of good things, but is that relevant, Ed, in your opinion, to his apology here?
No. I mean, a couple of years or so ago, Keith Olbermann was suspended by MSNBC for failing to disclose that he donated to several Democratic campaigns, and he was suspended. ABC right now is simply taking the position that they're okay with the apology and they're going to move on with this. I think it's absolutely wrong, and it does go to show that the media is somewhat skewed in favor of the Clintons.
Now, Ron, George Stephanopoulos says he will not moderate any GOP presidential debates. We heard from Reince Priebus also saying that wasn't going to happen in any way. But do you think he can still maintain his position as ABC News' chief news anchor when this information is out there? Of course, we all knew he worked very closely helping get President Clinton elected, but this seems to be a new wrinkle in the story. Ron, what do you think?
Well, I think that first, this is a troubling trend that we see in media where people do have these biases and they are behind the scenes, and it's not disclosed to the viewers. So it's up to the viewers to really try to figure out what side is everybody on rather than straight news reporting. It's very disturbing.
You know, a lot of people offer their opinions nowadays. I know John tries to get me to offer my opinions all the time, and it's kind of uncomfortable ground for me because that's not how we were trained. But this to me is very obvious. You should disclose that. If the Clinton Foundation is under scrutiny.
Well, one of the things that, guys, and back me up on this if you agree, I don't know what the problem was. He donated to the Clinton Foundation. He didn't donate to Hillary Clinton's PACs or to her campaign. So why didn't he just come out in the beginning and say, yes, they do a lot of good things and disclose it from the get-go?
Or not be the one to personally cover it. You need to say it. I think if you said it to the viewers and said, for full disclosure, I have personally donated my personal fund, $75,000, to the foundation, and move on. I don't think everybody would be talking about this as much.
And Ron,
do you agree?
Both you guys weigh in real quick too, because we've talked about this. You know, we talked about money in politics and the need for more transparency, and some people say that is the magic bullet to this problem. If you just make it all transparent, you'll be better off. Go ahead, Ed, what do you think?
Well, clearly, if he was transparent about it, maybe they ran a stringer underneath as he was speaking about the Clintons that recognized that he donated this much money. I mean, it's a sizable amount of money. The Clinton Foundation maybe does great things. In fact, we know it does. But we also don't know the transparency around the Clinton Foundation about how much money actually filters back to the Clintons and how those things were. I mean, there's a lot of controversy around it today. But at the long and short of it is, if he would have simply disclosed it and let the viewers then decide, he'd have been better off.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch topics. Wednesday evening at Kennesaw State University, a student posted a video on Twitter of an encounter he had at the school advising office. Take a listen.
Harass Mrs. Tilley like that.
I'm not harassing no one.
You are.
I'm not.
I can call security. You can fill out the form just like everybody else does.
Okay, I mean, I'm just waiting to talk to someone. I'm not harassing no one, though.
Sitting here until somebody's available is harassing them.
That's not
It
harassing.
is. Would you like for me to call campus security?
I mean...
I will go do that.
Okay.
All right. So there's obviously real crime problems on college campuses. This doesn't appear to be one of them.
Yeah. I'll let you guys comment. Ed, Actually,
You know, it sounds
what do
like
you
an
think?
employment. It sounds like an employment problem. The woman in the video should not be dealing with college students. I mean, although in fairness, we're seeing a snippet of it,
Right.
but from what we see, it's more of an employment issue more than anything. Putting aside the race of each participant, it sounds to me like she didn't have a good day, and if it's a habit, I don't know if she'd be working for any college that I was involved with.
Ron, last word. We got about 15 seconds left.
This, to me, shows potentially the value of video, of cell phone video that's exposing something that may be broken. But as your other guest mentioned, we're also just seeing a snippet. So
That's
we
right.
don't know the entire story.
More to come on that. Folks can check it out. We'll be back with more here on Newsmax Now. Thanks both to Ed and Ron.
And we want to welcome back in our roundtable, President at Tripp Scott Law Firm and former CEO Chairman to the Jeb Bush campaign, Ed Pozzuoli, and President of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, former Assistant Director to the FBI, Ron Hosko. Thank you both for staying with us.
Thank you.
Monday evening, HBO aired a documentary called Thought Crimes, covering the case of former New York cop Gilberto Valle, also known as the Cannibal Cop.
Gilberto Valle has become known as the Cannibal Cop. The 28-year-old's wife uncovered the alleged plot.
Charged in a conspiracy to commit kidnapping and allegedly used NYPD computers to get information on a list of victims.
Defense lawyers did not deny his online activity, but called it a sexual fantasy that he would never act on.
These are thoughts, very ugly thoughts, but we don't prosecute people for their thoughts.
It comes down to this. Is this guy just fantasizing, or is there enough evidence to suggest he was really planning to do this?
Valle was convicted by the jury, but the jury decision was then overturned last summer by a judge that found the evidence proved only fantasy. The day after the Thought Crimes documentary aired, Monday night, a prosecutor then asked a federal appeals panel to reinstate the kidnapping conspiracy conviction of Valle. If the jury decision were to be reinstated, could this open the doors for more cases like this? Let's start with you, Ron.
In a case like this, what the investigators are going to be looking to is there a real life conspiracy? Is there a meeting of the minds? What substantial steps are being...
Looks like we
All
lost
right, looks like
Ron
we
there.
lost Ron.
Pick up with Ed, though.
Yeah.
Ed, go ahead if you want to answer.
Well, let's talk. Basically, though, the one thing that's not was not on appeal was the fact that the defendant was convicted of violating the Computer Fraud Act, and because of his misuse of NYPD computer system, that really wasn't talked about. So he is convicted of that. But the bigger issue is the balance between free speech versus public safety.
Exactly, and that's the
So
debate
how
we're
do you
having.
balance it out?
We're having that debate right now in this country. When you look at the Texas cartoon case, you look at the First
Right.
Amendment there,
And then
you
we
see-
did the flag story as well.
but also the warnings that are on social media. If we are finding people, we reported a story about this, the conviction of that translator, the military translator,
Right.
for pledging allegiance to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi online. What is to stop somebody from claiming in a court of law that was just a fantasy?
Well, and that's really the issue. So if you applied these circumstances to a case that involved a potential terrorist conspiracy, there might be some different rules applied. But really, we're really bucking up and limiting people's free speech. And so if we go back to this idea that if you're willing to give up essential liberties for some temporary safety, you get neither. That's the old Ben Franklin thematic. But in this case, boy, to really try to convict somebody over what they're thinking, boy, that's a really tough line for a jury. And the appellate court clearly was having trouble with that because there was no true action and no true or definitive agreement of conspiracy to commit a crime.
All right, Ed, thanks so much for being with us. And sorry we lost Ron Hosko there, but we thank them both for joining us.